A very good afternoon and a very warm welcome to this special episode of Enterprise Matters on re-engineering foreign trade strategies for accelerating MSME e-commerce exports. So I am Sushma Morthania, Director General, India SME Forum, and I am here today welcoming all our dignitaries, experts, speakers, and all our viewers, members, subscribers who have tuned in today for this special session and deliberation on the upcoming foreign trade policy. India was to unveil the foreign trade policy 2021 to 26 sometime in April this year, but owing to COVID-19, the policy was further extended by 6 months, and it is expected to now, being unveiled by September end or maybe beginning of November. What actually is a foreign trade policy? The foreign trade policy is essentially a set of guidelines for the import and export of goods and services. These are established by the Director General of Foreign Trade, as we know, DGFT, the governing body for the promotion and facilitation of exports and imports under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. The policy is notified for a period of 5 years, and it is updated every year on March 31st. So usually the changes come to effect from April 1st. While the trade policy covers both imports and exports, its primary objective is to facilitate trade by reducing transaction cost and time, thereby making Indian exports more globally competitive. The basic aim of this policy is to accelerate economic activity and make the most of global market opportunities, encourage sustained economic growth by providing access to raw materials, components, intermediates, and goods which are used as input or the production of other goods, consumables, and capital goods. It also aims to strengthen Indian agriculture, industry, and services. It also aims to encourage stakeholders to strive for international standards of quality and provide quality consumer products at reasonable prices. What's special about this year's policy is that with COVID, online businesses, use of e-marketplace and e-commerce platforms has grown, and most of the business today happens online. And so this has been recognized by the DGFT, and there is a special inclusion of a special chapter on e-commerce and exports through e-commerce. So in this two-part webinar series, we are going to discuss and deliberate about what strategies or what kind of changes or trade strategies that need to be adopted in this foreign trade policy, or in short form we call it as FTP, and how the inclusion of e-commerce chapter is going to accelerate business for MSMEs and give them a large opportunity for exports. So that's going to be the special focus of this two-part deliberation. Allow me to introduce our special guests today and expert panelists who are part of this deliberation. May I have the pleasure of welcoming Srimati Alka Arora, Joint Secretary, Ministry of MSME, Government of India.
Thank you, Sushma.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
All well.
Many congratulations to you, ma'am, on your new portfolio at the ministry. So more power to you and more success to you, ma'am.
Thank you.
May I invite Dr. Aruna Sharma, IAS, former Secretary, Government of India.
Right. Hello, thank you, Sushma, and congrats, Alka.
It's a pleasure to see you, ma'am. We've heard so much good work you have done in the past, and I think you're continuing. And Sushma was telling that you got associated with SME Forum. So, ma'am, welcome to the MSME family.
Right, sure, Alka.
How are you, ma'am? Welcome. Always
All
a
right.
pleasure to see you, ma'am. May I welcome Shri Ruben Hobde, Regional Director South from the Plastic Exports Promotion Council.
Thank you, ma'am, for this opportunity.
Welcome, Ruben ji.
Thank you.
May I invite Shri Gurmeet Singh, Executive Director, Electronics and Computer Software Export Promotions Council.
Ji,
Welcome,
namaskar.
Gurmeet ji.
Thank you so
Namaskar.
much for the opportunity. Pleasure to join here. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Shri Ashutosh Kumar, Regional Director North, Plastics Exports Promotion Council. To join him, may I invite Shri Sabyasachi Ray, Executive Director, Gems and Jewelry Export Promotion Council.
Thank you, Sushma ji. Thank you, madam.
Hanji,
Very privileged to join you. Thank you, Aruna ji. Ruben, how are you?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sabyasachi. Nice to see you.
May I welcome Dr. Abhay Sinha, Director General, Services Export Promotion Council.
Good afternoon. It's a privilege to join here. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Welcome, Mr. Sinha. And to conduct today's deliberations, may I invite our President, Shri Vinod Kumar ji. Sir, you are on mute.
Namaskar to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today.
So,
Yes.
welcome to you, sir. And once again, hearty welcome to all our dignitaries and experts who are here today. So, over to you, Vinod, sir. And we are looking at some very, enriching deliberation. We would like to create a paper for recommendations at the end of this two-part series. And we are looking at strategies, especially to empower our MSMEs to be able to export and leverage the upcoming FTP. So with that, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sushma ji. It's a pleasure to be here and amongst a lot of friends and all of those people that are actually interested in pushing India's exports. And all of us have been working towards the one aim that was, that is about how do we drive India's exports, specifically for Indian MSMEs. And the only thing that I think most of us are aware about where we are in terms of the FTP and what is happening. But the fact is that, it's been rightly identified by the Honorable Prime Minister and the Union Commerce Minister that exports will be a key pillar for India's economic recovery and subsequent growth in a post-COVID-19 landscape. The basic framework of policy and strategy for promoting exports and trade is basically the FTP, and therefore it assumes a certain amount of importance in helping us lay a foundation for exports that enables India to expand international markets. But at the same time, I have been a key proponent that we should not have a 5-year policy. We should have a policy which is fluid and can change whenever things are different. And instead of a 3,000-page voluminous document, but nevertheless, I don't make decisions here. So moving forward with the, I first request Aruna ma'am to please share her thoughts. We are currently primarily talking about various things. One is that we've so far been focusing on B2B exports, and with a huge number of MSMEs coming into the export fray with the sort of incentives that the Ministry of MSME and other ministries, the Ministry of Commerce, is offering for promoting their products. Also, with the advent of e-commerce, where you have various players across the world which are targeting Indian manufacturers for promoting their products around the world. So there is a huge possibility in front of the Indian MSME, and with that, we feel that B2C exports is also going to be a major mover. We will have a great advantage if we are able to actually look at exports in the B2C sphere. In this context, ma'am, we also have situations where, when you look at a WTO is talking about a possibility of India doubling its exports in 6 years, and that is the possibility overall. And in terms of just the B2C possibility, we are looking at close to $120 billion worth of opportunity that is in front of us. Now, so I'd like to hear from you. What are your thoughts on, obviously, the FTP, the part of the B2C e-commerce push that we are talking about, and finally about, how do we create a strategy for achieving the Prime Minister's vision? We are talking about $400 billion worth of merchandise exports to move forward with.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Vinod Kumar and Sushma.
Pleasure, ma'am.
And nice to have Alka also being there, who will have a first-hand knowledge of what is the thinking going on in the ministry, along with all the other four stakeholders who knows where the shoe pinches. So with this kind of a panelist and co-panelist with me, see, basically, what rightly said, India is having a dual challenge. You have to have sustainable jobs, new sustainable jobs, and you have to have a growth trajectory. And there is no other answer than MSMEs. And if MSME is to be answered, the MSME has to enter the new markets. So expanding of the new markets is very, very important. And government is sort of trying to trigger it by following the trans village model of China of saying one product, one district, or maybe some of the policies which are triggering into it. But having said that, it is very important that to be internationally competitive, automation is bound to happen. So automation, yet there is an opportunity to create new kinds of jobs, to create more jobs. And now with 462 million internet users in India, it is very easy for anybody to board on the e-commerce platforms, which is going to be the new normal and which has proven so during the lockdown across the globe. All the industries which use this platform were able to show an enhancement in entering into the export markets, even though the lockdown was there. But you had different opening of lockdowns across the globe, and some smart businessmen in India did use it very effectively. So now it has become their permanent market for them to build upon. And that is where the B2C also came very interestingly, very strong. Because if you look at the B2C, you will find that today the consumer's first visit for any product is e-commerce platform, and that is where they are making their choice. So it is a wonderful platform to introduce a brand new product absolutely in the market and get a feedback. But having some things which are very important to flag, and I think I should flag it. Now that DGTR is responsible for FTP, the definition of e-commerce which is there in FTP should, again I repeat, should be ensured in any of the acts and rules, whether it is coming originating from IT department, from commerce department, whether from consumer affairs department, because that is where the whole problem is lying of some of the like consumer department's recent draft rules have put in the ownership clause. I will like to read here what the FTP says so, and which is the most sensible and good definition for e-commerce. Under section 9.17a, old one, you are saying e-commerce means buying and selling of goods and services, including digital products conducted over digital and electronic network for the purpose of merchandise exports from India. MEIS, e-commerce shall mean the export of goods hosted on a website accessible through the internet to a purchaser. So it is absolutely clear in what it means. And therefore, and then it is taken care of the dispatches and postal mode and the logistic arrangements and the payment gateway, which is coming. Then it again, it is saying through international credit debit cards as per the RBI circulars. And it is very important that the Ministry of MSME should be the flag bearer wherever any rule is trying to define e-commerce, because the maximum is going to be used by MSME, and that is where your Niryat Bandhu schemes and everything, the success is going to be rested upon. The second thing, which is very important when you are talking of B2C, that in the e-commerce, your principal place of business, what you call it PPOB, is creating a problem, because if the collection of the goods is from multi-states, or if you are going to work upon multi-states, then it may require registration in every state. So I think what Mr. Vinod rightly said, that this FTR policy has to be a dynamic policy to bring in such corrections, so that one need not wait for 5 years, because it's a very evolving way of entering the world market. And what WT has said is, I will say, is a right estimation. That kind of a potential is there and we can reach it. The third point which I will like to bring to your attention is that it is very important to have a single window for the payment structures. You have AD codes, you have EBRC, that is your electronic bank realization certificates, you have EFIRC, that is foreign inward remittance certificates. So could be the ICE gate can become a single point for doing
Very
all
correct.
this and reduce the way the whole thing is going to go ahead in future. Then the fourth point I would like to make here is that when export promotion councils are focusing, the awareness about e-commerce is also necessary among the MSMEs. They have to understand how to package their product, how to write the description of the product, how to post that product. And this is where can be made a mandatory to the e-commerce platforms also. I mean, this could be one of the hand holding they should do it, so that they take care not just the logistic solutions, but also giving the feedback and explaining and helping MSMEs to put their product with the best of the description to attract the B2C, the C market part of it. The B2B is anyway knowledgeable about it. So, having said that, I will say in the end that I welcome that there is going to be a specific chapter, and that should highlight focusing on end to end digitization, increasing awareness, logistic capabilities, simplify compliances, most important, the e-commerce definition, so that it is not leading to number of jerks through some notifications or draft rules or others coming. And this is something, an opportunity not to be lost. This will solve both the problems. It will add to the growth rate, and it will also create a very good quality, sustainable employment to our people. So at this point, I think I'll stop at this stage. And then if there is some more clarifications required later, most welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aruna ma'am. That was a precise, opening statement. I could not have done it any better. You put it so well. So I'm now going to our dear Alka ma'am. Alka ma'am, we keep on talking about the sort of new work that the ministry has done now. We just came up with day before yesterday, and a very, very commendable effort that the ministry has put together in the international cooperation scheme, where for the first time I found a lot of things that the ministry is enabling in terms of taking entrepreneurs to international markets, taking them to approach international opportunities, especially in fairs, delegations, B2B meetings, and all of that. So that's a very, very commendable effort. So let me at the outset thank you for. Your international cooperation department has put it together. So hats off to you for doing that. I think that will be remembered for quite some time to come. Uh, if you'd like to respond to that, then we can go to the next.
No, so let's start by saying that what Aruna ma'am has said. Basically, she has put all the pieces on the platform, or I can say on the on the chessboard, that these are the players which need to be focused upon. So I agree, like this B2C is a very important vertical where the MSMEs can play upon. And I think most of the councils are working with the MSME ministry now for the past 2 years. And just to apprise Madam also, so ma'am, what we have been doing is that we have this international scheme, which was actually a very small vertical in the ministry. So we have been really working upon it, and we try to take all the councils, and happy to say that all councils, because MSME, if we have that figure of 6.3 crores, everything which, everybody belongs to MSME. Like I would say handicrafts, the whole sector is MSME, and if you look at gems and jewelry. So, but unfortunately, there are ministries which belong, like the textiles is there to take care of the textile sector, then pharmaceuticals is there, chemical is there. But what I realized is when the problems and the issues come up, then the MSME ministry suddenly has to come into action, because, you are supposed to be the parent ministry. So what we realized that a lot of work has been done by Commerce Ministry, and I was lucky that I had other joint secretaries who were like friends, and we understood what we are talking about. And this led to a lot of discussions where we realized that the MSMEs, we have the Niryat Bantu scheme, we have so many things going, DGFT has been doing a lot of work. But what happens is that the MSMEs, somewhere, because nobody tells them what they're supposed to do, and they are not exporters. So they're lost. Like if a micro wants to do something also, just to break into the domestic market itself is so difficult, leave alone the export market. And then the councils were also, because they need people who are already doing something. So people have been, who are members of the export councils have always been the slightly small and the medium kind of people. So when the Atmanirbhar came, the definition, which all of us have been working on, it got changed. So the whole game scenario, the small and the medium became big players also. So that was one happy thing which happened during the COVID period. In the meantime, what we also did was that the councils, we started talking to the councils, started understanding, because all of them have a MSME vertical, which they are all trying to push. So what all of us realized was that the people who want to become exporter, how do we take them? So our minister at that time was Mr. Gadkari, and sir said that why don't you, we were having a program of the Leather Council, and there he told me on the dais itself, he says, why don't you help people to become exporters? That we should give them something that, that motivates them to become exporters. So for the past 6 months, 8 months, we were working on, and we thought that first time exporters. So there were many hurdles in the ministry itself, and the Commerce Ministry had lots of things to say. But happy to say that now we have come out with that, what are the, because the first thing people need is a lot of these tests, and, you go to these labs, you get these certificates, which the MSMEs, the micro and the small sector can't afford. So that was one part. We thought we must assist them in that, and this scheme will, I think, in a month or so, we will be, going full fledged on the portal. The other thing, and Vinodji has been a part of it, and of course Gurmeet also has been working with us closely, and many other councils also. I think Mr. Ray is there, so we've been working very closely with Mr. Dugal from Gem and Jewelry Council. So many of the councils have worked with us on this. And we have realized that what we need is a intelligence system. The MSMEs, so this is another area which the ministry has proposed, is the global market intelligence system, where we need to know which country we are going to, what is the taxation of that place, what is the product which I should be preparing. And that is how we will have more and more exporters. So last year, we did a study in the ministry, which I was heading, and most of the councils assisted us by sharing with us all the studies they've done in the past on the various sectors. And that is how we came to this conclusion that we spoke to DGFT, DGCIS, and many of the meetings. The conclusion was that we will need to have our own system, the Global Market Intelligence System, which will provide our MSMEs the knowledge and the strength. Because what is the success of Amazon today? We look at how they made the MSMEs export to different countries, because they gave them the data that you go to this country, you make this product. So that is what we need to do, and that should come at free of cost. and to help the young MSMEs which are wanting to go into export. 52 facilitation centers have been opened by us, which are actually in our regional offices, which are controlled by our development commissioner's office. So there, if I'm like a blank slate, even if I go there, somebody will help me and guide me that, okay, this is what you need to do. And this is how you can do. Also, the international travel, since it was not happening, I reached out to nearly 150 ambassadors, and they all have been actually very, very responsive, I would say. So the pandemic time we have used, and I think we have done nearly, if not less, 20 to 25 meetings with different countries, and every time I think most of the ambassadors were there themselves, who are very keen that the B2B platform for the MSMEs should open up, and BRICS roundtable for MSMEs was done this year. The IPSA is in 2 days' time. So there's a lot been happening on the MSME space, and now that all these new things are happening and the policy is coming, my only request to all the councils is that whatever you're thinking that, for your sector specifically, do flag it to us, so that, the ministry also puts it together like a document, and then we can move to Commerce Ministry, and also maybe have a meeting with the DGF. So this is what's all happening in our space, and I think we all should be and will be a part for the new policy which should come out, I think, in 3 months' time. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I mean, I now you named Mr. Sabyasachi Ray, so I'd like to go to him next. There's quite a few issues that we have with the fact that gem and jewelry does not get the same amount of though it's a prime export sector. There's a lot of complaints that or the sector has that you don't get the same pride of place when it comes to offering benefits and incentives back to this sector. So what do you think should be the new strategy if India is looking at addressing a $400+ billion export market in the next few years, sir?
See, thank you, Mr. Binod Kumar, and also thank you, madam, for giving such a beautiful backdrop on what we are speaking, and thank you, Alka ma'am, for all the help. I think we are coming up through that stage because MSME, of course, we, as ma'am has told, that most of our units are MSME, and if you go, suppose what we have done, we have studied the entire India because data is very important, as ma'am has told. So we tried to find out the exact data. So we have mapped around 300 clusters across India from where the MSME are producing the products. So once we have understood the cluster, there were some bigger clusters like Bombay, Surat, etc., from where in B2B exports are happening. But there are clusters like Jaipur and maybe Chhattisgarh and in the Northeast, which there are fantastic jewelry which are being made, but which cannot be exported. And then came the pandemic. We have understood that the entire world changed. So today, if anywhere across the world, at least for gems and jewelry, if we look into the market, we understand that around 25% of the total buying is happening from through e-space. So based on that, we understood that it is very important that the e-commerce policy has to take in shape. So we went to the government. One of the biggest challenges what we always face in our sector is gems and jewelry, they call it a sensitive product. Once it is sensitive product, there were a lot of confusion about whether you can export also, because there is in customs there is a notification for that courier exports, postal exports. Though the notifications are there, however, gems and jewelry was not permitted to export. So one of the first thing what we did is to open up that thing. So we are thankful to the customs department. In November, they come out with a notification clarifying that gem and jewelry can be exported through e-commerce, through the courier mode and postal mode. The next thing, of course, logistically, if we are trying to face the challenge, the next thing we understood is at the appraisal level. Now, if you do, every jewelry has to appraise when you're going out, then of course it is not possible. Logistically, it is not possible because then everything has to go through a shipping bill. Then you have to go through a clearance route. For that, let's say that for sending, we have checked in that for sending $100 jewelry, let's say from here to USA, you will be spending in $50. That is absolutely, it is not practical. So then we went to the government, and then with the help of course the MSME, the DIPP, everybody, what the customs they have been given clear directive. Now they are working on a SOP. SOP will permit that giving the jewelry equal amount of facility as per the custom notification for any other e-commerce exports. Once it happens, the whole sector will open up. So what we have also done, because we understood tied up with eBay. Because if you look into the entire spectrum, though Amazon, etc., are much more well known in our country, but eBay is the one in jewelry throughout the world. In 156 countries, we have seen that they are having footprints, and through that. So, what we have done, this is the first time you'll see that in eBay they are permitting throughout the world, believe me, they are giving us one micro site for jewelry only. Now, it is a huge revolution because in the entire eBay, when you search, if you find that the jewelry, microsite comes up, and that microsite is only for Indian jewelry. So you think about that in 156 countries where eBay is doing the business, the maximum of the business that they are having across the world, they are giving us a microsite. And that not only that, for all the MSME players, what we have seen this first 6 months is free of cost for B2B business, whatever they're doing. So for getting listed on eBay, that is one. So these are the general things what we have got, and what I think I also accept Aruna ma'am's contention that things have to be propagated. So what we have done amongst our 7,000 members and across these clusters, we have started doing webinars in a very aggressive fashion, stating that what are the benefits of getting listed to eBay. And at the same time, for logistical challenge, once we have gone to the to different courier companies, to different, of course, the postal department. One thing what just now I think you were speaking regarding the monetary part of it, because payment gateway is very easy, but in the end of the day, if they have to file the shipping bill, through the shipping bill they have to submit a EBRC, etc., all these things, then of course for a small exporter you understand that it is not that much possible. So what again we have done an MOU with ICICI Bank. For your information, ICICI Bank has come out with a fantastic solution for e-commerce exports. See, with 50 rupees per shipping bill, they'll do everything. They will file the EBRC, they will file the shipping bill, they will see that the money comes to the account in one go. So one window solution they are already giving. We have already talked to RBI. So another thing what we have found out, see, just now, as I have told you, 300 clusters. So throughout India, which is the easiest way of a small exporter, let's say from a small town in Chhattisgarh, to go, is the post office. So we worked with the post office. So in very shortly, maybe in another 1 month, they're coming out with a product from 850 destinations or post offices across India. They will start exports, at least for with us. They are coming into an MOU, so that from 850 destinations they will permit our exporters to export, which will be a big revolution in our country, as our honorable prime minister has told, to reach $400 billion. This will be one big step what at least our council will be taking, in collaboration with ICICI Bank, in collaboration with eBay, in collaboration with the post office. Now post office, another thing what we have made the customs, and they have agreed that if it is post office, they have no problem. So post office, again, that SOP, they will be applying in the post office with the, with whenever it is starting. The fourth thing, throughout the world, at least gems and jewelry, if you see, some 75% of the products are getting exported only in US. Now, USA, they have a fantastic rule which is called a de minimis principle. What is the de minimis principle? Till $800, if any product from anywhere in the world, if it is exported there, no checks by the customs. It goes directly to the consumer, to the B2C consumer, mind it. Now, China has grown hugely. So, in the total export, e-commerce exports, which is happening B2C segment in USA, 75% is done by China. So, we have followed what is the, what iska piche raj kya hai, like that. So, we found out that the China Post is having a fantastic agreement with US Post. So if anything is going out of China Post, through China Post, it goes directly to the consumer without doing any checks and etc. through the US Post. So again, we went with the post office, and very shortly, they have first part, they have data sharing part, they have already, signed the post office. The next part, I think another 1-2 months, they are signing with US Post the same kind of agreement what China Post is having. And again, we can use that. So you can understand it again through eBay, through ICICI, through post office, and through customs. So this is the ecosystem which we are successfully creating. And for your information, some 1,200 of our member exporters already have got enrolled into the whole process. So we are ready for the policy. Just a few days back, our honorable minister came in Bombay, and when we put forward to him about the because we are talking about e-commerce policy, especially for gems and jewelry. So he told that it is very shortly it will be announced. He has told that it is in the next 2 to 3 months. So in a nutshell, what we have done, because we believe that to reach that 400 billion, our target is around $44 billion have been given. This is the way to reach, because B2C exports mean better value addition. The price of the goods, whatever, because if you reach directly to the C segment, that means all the middlemen are out. So in the end of the day, this can be a huge revolution, at least for the small exporters. That is what we feel.
Thank you, Sabjitaji. I mean, I completely agree with you on a lot of points there. In fact, we have been talking to exporters around the world and around the country, and especially because I've been part of the Export Promotion Development Task Force at the Ministry of MSME, and the sort of inputs that we've received from people all over, it's been really amazing to look at what sort of issues are coming. There's people who are talking about the fact that imports in India are extremely easy. You can import anything you want and sell to whosoever you want without any much problems. But when you have to export, there are a million problems, or there are a million forms you need to fill. You need to go, from place to place. The other day we were talking about, single window systems. But the single window for the entrepreneur, it's like, you have the DGFT, which has the website for IEC and MEIS and all that. Then you have the RBI, which has the EDPMS system. You have customs, which has the ICE gate, GSTIN, which has GST. But none of these systems talk to each other. So I, as an entrepreneur, have to go from place to place, take it from here, put it here. For an exporter, why is life so difficult? Especially when we are talking about that there is a huge potential in B2C exports, where using, like you rightly pointed out, eBay. Amazon is already saying that they've done close to $3 billion worth of exports from India through single B2C sellers. Now look at the possibility. But on the other hand, what we find is there's need for digital processing. Making export clearance to be 100% online, removing the need for paper-based clearance completely. So I'd like Ruben to please share his views.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vinod. Thank you for the panel, Sabyasachi. Nice to see you here. The thing about the problems what exporters are facing is the moment you tell them, even a first-time exporter, that there are a lot of potential for you and there's a lot of things are available for you. But the first thing what they ask is, we don't want to export because of the procedures or because of the problems which we face with customs or something like that. There should be an awareness created where we have a joint meeting with all these 4-5 agencies which you're talking about. And also the concern about exporters is that they have to adopt to the technology. Most of the plastic export promotion, our members, our MSME members, they are not able to adopt to the latest technology which is happening. And everybody are online now, we have phones, we have everything, but still manufacturing is not what you call it, is not technology oriented yet. You talk about, I think many countries have come out with industry 4.0, and we talk about digital India, but whereas we have not, the manufacturing does not have the capability of technology so far. We talk about paperless, we talk about a lot of other things, eBay, Amazon, but what happened to the manufacturing? So I think that also should be thought about, IoT in the manufacturing, data analytics, all these has to come to the manufacturing. Then only we can expand the e-commerce business. They are not able to supply to the ones who are already into the major exports. They are not able to supply. So I think the exporters have to we have to create an awareness that the exports are there, the potential is there. These things can be sorted out. And also another point is that district promotion. I think that could be a major point in the foreign trade policy, where we're already touching upon some district, because each and every state has its unique products. that we are not touched upon. Like what gems and jewelry is very unique in some of the parts of the thing. Same way, there's something which are very unique for the particular state. We have not utilized that potential. Some of the exporters are just only domestic. So I think the district promotion and the state promotion can be a major part in the FTP, along with creating the awareness about the e-commerce business. Plus, I'm talking about the industry 4.0, where we talk about manufacturing. Not just talking about payment gateways and websites, and I think that's gone. I think we are come, because even my mother-in-law knows how to go into a Zoom and have their own things like that. So she's 75, but she can do anything she wants online. She's better than me right now, and my daughter is better than me. My daughter tells me do this, do that. So it's not about talking about the basic technology. We are talking about moving into one more step of, say, augmented reality, or something like just it's go about manufacturing, where our products are better than the other countries. Thank you.
In fact, very, very rightly put there. I was the other day, at one of the discussions in the task force itself, we were talking about this cross-border e-commerce survey, shopper survey, and which talked about 92% of consumers in the US who shop through cross-border e-commerce primarily expect a delivery within 7 days. And to which, companies in China, MSMEs in China have completely been tuned to. So you have products which reach across within 3 days, 4 days. So,
Right.
the speed of customs clearance and all that, which is integral, also becomes a critical, part of success. Like Sabhishachi mentioned earlier, up to $800. Well, just take the product in. As far as we are concerned, we have the biggest network, which, for example, in the US, is the post department primarily, and we have a corresponding speed post system which we are aligned to with them, in terms of international alliances that they have. When you take a China post, you have a trackable e-packet, which is, Chinese exporters can deliver much better. So it's, how do we create a level playing field for Indian MSMEs? Can't we utilize India Post, which can enable a tracking based facility wherein, why send something to them, to my buyers anywhere else in the world, and I'm able to track it, and there's a certain guarantee that it will reach in a certain period of time. We are talking about, I would say, 1.5 lakh post offices that we have, which are, which could be the most preferred international logistics service for Indian MSMEs. And there is very little. In fact, Arora ma'am was part of the ministry which was at that point talking about that we should use post offices in the background of this. And for us to actually, you see, how will we make it easy? How will we lower the costs? Very simple. If you are able to lower the cost of logistics, if you are able to lower the cost, the paperwork, two very important things that we can, and I can assure you that you will have millions of Indian MSMEs which will primarily want to exploit, and they'll get onto platforms, and
True.
that is what is going to add to our exports. So this question, I mean, maybe Gurmeet can give us some insight.
I totally agree with you, Vinod. One thing I must agree, the thing that you mentioned, these days exporters are facing a lot of problems just for, doing the compliances. Let me, in the case of software, if you believe me, just few days back, we had a meeting with the Honorable CIM, Commerce and Industry Minister, and where we raised, the plea of so many MSME IT exporters, wherein they need to file the Softex form, which was way back introduced at almost 1.5 decade back, and it's still continuing. Most of them, find it very, taking, and moreover that they need to pay a huge fee for just getting their exports certified. They are making exports, and then they need to get it certified from an agency and paying, over 6.5 lakh rupees of payment. You can imagine, where we are going. And for MSMEs, it's a big pain. So we are taking it up. We raised that issue, and Honorable Ministers just, it's got the attention of the ministry and the DGFT as well. So let's see how it goes. But it's really a pain. The other thing, as you rightly said, we need to trust our exporters. doesn't matter if you get a 2% or a 5% cases wherein there was some money laundering cases or something, but you can't put everybody, the rest of 95% on the same scale. So we need to trust our exporters and make a huge penalties, whatever you want. But don't there has to be a trust with the exporters, so that that encourages them to do more and remain in the mainstream of the nation and contribute in the foreign exchange earnings. As software exports from the country amounted to US dollar 146 billion. And however, the time has come for India to scale up its offerings and focus more on high-end products. Right now we are giving services and all that, low-end job for the others, right? We are working for the others. Now the time has come that we do some R&D for our own, and instead of brain drain, we should work further and create some uh, IP for our own country, for our for which we should be known in the country. So that is one thing. I agree with you. So Softex form is one thing that we expect in the coming FTP that needs to be addressed. Particularly for the MSMEs, it will be a big relief. And the other thing that we look at is the software exports, even being a largest contributor to our export basket, it is not at all incentivized. So at least for the MSME sector, we expect the SEI scheme should be endorsed to the MSME exporters. It will really give them a boost to do more and do some good quality work, like in a product development, or other than the traditional work, they can do some good R&D and good product exports from the country. And certainly we are doing well in the IT sector. Certainly we need there are more pains in the electronic sector, whereas software is soft, the hardware is really hard. So on the hardware, it is no secret that India's share in the world electronic trade is rather minuscule, while the global market for electronic products is estimated to be worth US dollar 2.1 trillion. Total export of electronic product from India during 1920 amounted to mere US dollar 11.2 billion. So almost, even for our catering to our domestic demand, we are dependent almost more than 75% on from the foreign markets. We are importing it. So as we say, our total imports of electronics is going to be more than the our fuel exports. So while there can be many arguments for and against the structure of industry, I would come straight to the competitiveness of our industry. Broadly speaking, export competitiveness of any country depends on the level of domestic demand and production, cost of production, price in domestic and international markets, its quality of products, efficiency of supply chain, as well as trade policy of the country. And if we look at our electronics industry, that reveals that our total manufacturing capacity itself is worth approximately US dollar 79 billion, whereas domestic demand has reached almost US dollar 400 billion by 2020. In fact, we are importing bulk of our requirements, as I said earlier. Traditionally, we have to invest it in very little in our electronic sector. Even today, bulk of components and parts of electronics goods manufactured in India are imported by our industry. Not because we would like to, but because we do not have enough capacity. This heavy reliance on our imports is one of the contributing factors for where we stand. So coming to the reason, I think in the electronics hardware manufacturing sector, lack of level playing field vis-a-vis competing nation is there. As per our estimates, electronics manufacturing sector in India suffers from a disability of around 8.5% to 11% on account of lack of adequate infrastructure, domestic supply chain and logistics, high cost of finance, inadequate availability of quality power, limited design capabilities and focus on R&D by the industry, and inadequacies in the skill development. So thanks, of late, the government has come out with a PLI scheme, but again, the MSME sector has left out. So we are looking at, we throw in an idea if that similar kind of a PLI scheme for the MSME sector can be introduced. That will bring a really game changer. And as we call it a micro PLI, assisting and targeting at the MSME sector of India. That would really help in creating a ecosystem within the country and promoting our exports from the electronic sector as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Gurmeet ji. I go on to, you touched about software, and also that it takes me to the another very big, segment. Abhay is here, Mr. Abhay Sinha. So, Abhay, we keep on talking about that, services could actually overrun merchandise exports in India. But there's very little we are doing about it. We are just letting it happen on its own. And I don't think there's enough strategies in place that we have to actually allow the entire sector to move forward in a much faster pace than what it has, and actually fulfill the potential that it has. Your comments, please.
Thank you, Vinodji. Thank you, everyone over here. In fact, you see, your point well taken. And I was actually trying to notice how many times any one of you would have used the word services or the target set by, for the services sector. Unfortunately, Mr. Gurmeet did mention about, software part, so which is more or less the part of the services a bit. And you mentioned about 400 billion US dollar export target for the manufacturing. In fact, let me begin with the Prime Minister's address, Honorable Prime Minister's address on 6th of August. There you see, like the council was invited to participate in that, and we did invite a lot many players from the industry. That day also, when the target was being set and when all the stakeholders, our embassies, missions abroad were addressed, the target for services was not mentioned. Only in his address, he did mention about travel and tourism, healthcare, without any target. And unfortunately, our foreign minister also didn't mention anything. And we actually took it up later. This was followed by another meeting by our honorable CIM on 19th of August, where most of the councils were invited in Mumbai. There also, our chairman raised a very pertinent issue. And few points I wanted to highlight before what was said and mentioned by honorable minister. One was like, it's basically a perception issue, as you mentioned. We do know that services sector is contributing close to 55% in GDP, but never a mention. Pick up any newspaper of any given day, you hardly find any mention about the services. So there is this lack of perception. In case of the policy making also, we are skewed to think about the manufacturing sector. And my last 12-year experience has been in pharma excel, pharmaceuticals exports. So I understand that. We do talk about pharma exports and all the exports. Gems and jewelry definitely have very high value export. But if you put together all the exports, it has been only the services sector export that has partially been able to offset the trade deficit to the manufacturing or the merchandise export. Now that recognition, we we don't get that. The services sector doesn't get, and because of this lack of perceptive value, what happens is when we talk about manufacturing, we do talk about MSME, but when we talk about services sector, we do miss out MSMEs in the services. And believe me, like a lot of emerging players are in that space. When we talk about travel and tourism, when we look forward to telemedicine to come as a force in international business, there we don't have enough organized data, but players are there. Likewise, in education, of course, like daily recognition and everything in the international space is a big issue. But there are vocational courses, there are training programs. They can earn a lot of forex for the country. Those, and they require handholding, they require infrastructure. In audiovisual section, in fact, we do have entertainment as a major sector, but we do miss out on this VFX related expertise which India has on gaming, animation, cartoon. These are the things that no language is a barrier to these kind of services. We also miss out on the education, the awareness. Unlike merchandise export, where the product just needs to get transported from one shore to the another country's destination. In case of services, there are four modes basically. The first one is the digitization through email, through whatever digital medium we can have. It has its own, challenges. There could be a challenge of security. Yesterday we had an interaction, we found out, when you deliver design services, for example, it can be hacked. So those are the challenges and a lot of hand holding. When we talk about e-commerce, an example of Amazon was given. There are like a lot of consulting services which can be provided through online medium. Are we addressing for MSME? So far, no. When we talk about consulting, the big players, then there is mode 2. Of course, mode 2 is requires a lot of infrastructure, but there are a lot of facilitators in mode 2, and they belong to MSME category. When we talk about agencies facilitating medical value tourism, they don't have that industry recognition. So that is also creating a bit of issue. Do we have a specific foreign trade policy in FTP? Some plan. I'll come to FTP separately. I'm just highlighting. So
Sure.
mode 3 is, you need to have enough competitiveness in you to have an office in the destination country where the consumption can happen in that country. Are we providing that long road and long rope to any MSME to grow to that stature? The last one also, even if an MSME are able to provide design service, maybe the last mile of services have to be delivered mainly in construction engineering at the destination country. So that's mode 4, temporary visit of maybe doctors, maybe nurses in that country. Are we taking them along when we talk about MSME? So that's a big gap, and one of the most important gap when we try to collect the data is definitely like very bigger issue. I believe some committees are already working on it. Is the data collection on the export and import part. We do rely on our export from the RBI data, and that too doesn't come with a classification or segmentation. They use a purpose code. They have their own way of classification, and we come to know about exports every quarter, and only at the end of the year we somehow can picture and can visualize how much exports in segment has taken. But when we try to take the data from any partner country, there we do have a lot of issues because nowhere travel and tourism is uniform in the data collection. Or we talk about healthcare, there are so many subsectors. So these are the challenges. India, just for the awareness, and or now, ma'am, other senior people definitely must be aware. We are still using the old CPC code, version 1. World has moved ahead. And there is another system of collection of data called BPM6. SCPC has taken up the role. We have tried to bring in a kind of assemblage of, some kind of order by mapping them. And there is another issue thrown in when we talk about the services. Quite possible, we as a council can mean about 14, 15 services. In Udyog One, Ministry of Commerce, they sometimes mean the services under SCPC purview given by DGFT, or sometimes the entire focus goes on the 12 champion sectors identified. We have tried to make those mapping, and a lot of services sectors are left out. So you see, these are the part. Now, when we try to build a policy, foreign trade policy, for example, what we have been doing for years, not only for entire manufacturing, but also for the services. There has been no deep thought process on handholding segment wise. Healthcare is far different from travel and tourism. Maybe MVT you can relate to. Healthcare is far different from entertainment. So you can't have one policy guideline or one set of incentive, overarching incentive. We had MDA, and like I'm thankful that yesterday only I got that MDA scheme of MSMEs. In pharma, we used to go to MSME ministry, and we wanted to speak that there are certain product registration costs which MOC was, taking care. Why can't all those policies be unified? Of course, we'll be going through that. I do feel that some words on services should have been there. It is right now, in the first glance, I found missing. Pardon me if I'm, if there is
That's
No, no,
all.
oversight.
it does apply to all exports, including merchandise
Yeah,
and services.
yeah. And then, and in foreign trade policy, what has happened so far? You gave a scheme called ACIS, 5 to 7%, and then you left out a lot many sectors, software, IT,
Very correct. Very
that
correct.
is also left out. Maybe the reason was that the sector is doing good. So leave it as they've done for pharma in ROTEP rate just announced. Chapter 29, 30, 31, all those things are left. So if something is, some sector is doing good, you don't leave out. You just need to build, take it to the next step by supporting in a different way. But anyway, the idea was not to, ACIS is in the fag end. I don't think they are going to announce it for 2021. But there was a disparity in this policy formulation itself. MEIS or whatever existing policy you had, what you were doing, it was a blanket for 5 years. But in case of SEIS, every year exporters have to wait for the notification to come. Who suffered in pandemic? It is the services sector, travel and tourism. So many
Yes.
MSMEs closed down. Unfortunately, only now the announcement has made. Still, it's more than 1.5 years. We are waiting for the notification, and we are saying that make it inclusive. Put a cap in case there was a lot of pilferage to the large companies. Put a cap, but make it inclusive. uh, ROTAP principle was given to us to find out some new way, and the underlying principle was that no duty or unlevied taxes should be exported. It's very difficult to calculate that for services sector. For manufacturing, still it is much easier. For merchandise, easier, but for services, extremely difficult. We put that scheme under name called DRESS, duty remission scheme on services sector. Unfortunately, it has gone into rough weather. So right now, the entire services sector, including MSME, don't know what is going to be there in the upcoming foreign trade policy. We are saying that simplify ACIs, continue till you come across and develop a new policy. This is one part. How do we address the incentivization? Now there was a deliberation earlier on in these intervening phase when Mr. Hardeep Puri sir was also taking care as Minister of State in Commerce.
Yes.
He did mention in one of the interaction that foreign trade policy, the present foreign trade policy, till which has been extended till September, before the new one comes, is talking about incentives and everything in different chapters. We should rewrite the policy in a very different manner, and we should start talking about the competence development, infrastructure required, you know, just coming out of the box, those ideas. But so far, uh, you know, I don't think we are moving in that direction, because then it will take much longer time, because each sector is very specific. And competence building in entertainment, competence building in entertainment, in gaming and cartoon are two different things. A lot of skill development issues are there in case of services. It is mainly skill driven. Major raw material is skill. So, how do we focus? That is what I feel your topic when we talk about re-engineering the incentives or schemes. I feel that we need to focus on these various aspects. Then we'll do a lot of, immense service for SMEs to rebuild the perception in the services. Of course, manufacturing can take a long. And just to conclude, on the 19th August, our chairman actually raised this matter as a part of, for the first time, as a part of, positive deliberation or positive takeaway, was that our projection was 230 billion exports, including the software part. Maybe it could be for this year 250. We just 3% fall down has happened in the pandemic year. We have achieved 97% of the earlier exports. So if we project the first quarter growth, we can reach up to 250 provided travel and tourism rebounds. So the
Sure.
total target for the country is 650. And by 2030, the total export is 2 trillion US dollar. 1 trillion has been given to the services sector. This
Services.
won't be possible without developing enough competencies for the MSME sector. So I think we all need to join hands and synergize our
Completely
effort in
agree.
getting the new policy.
Com-
Thank you so
completely
much.
agree. In fact, I'd now like to go for, now we've heard almost everybody. Alka ma'am has been called by the secretary, so she's going to join us back in a bit. Um, uh, I'd like to go back to all the speakers so that, we've heard everybody now. If you have any comments that you'd like to make, first thing is that, whenever I, have looked at MSMEs, my personal experience is that MSMEs have found it very, very easy. In the last year and a half, we've supported around 300 women from across India, across sectors: imitation jewelry, textiles, handlooms, garments, you name it. I mean, various sectors, and all of them have gone online because we had no other source. We could not take people for delegations or exhibitions. Nothing was happening. Even the virtual ones that were happening were not productive enough. There was very little business actually happening there because half the time the buyers were not there, half the time the timings were not matching. So many issues. So in that process, we put a lot of people on e-commerce websites, like Sabyasachi mentioned. So and that proved to be extremely wonderful in the sense that two of these women have actually broken their own turnover last year, which was only from local sales in exports. So my personal feeling is that there's a lot more that can be done. Just imagine if we can enable, we're talking about 6 million, um, uh, uh, I would say MSMEs. Just imagine if we can just enable nothing more than 300,000 enterprises, and each one of them can do a certain amount of export. At the same time, what are the issues that she faced? We were talking about returns, for example. When one of these women got returns, which is normal in e-commerce, that was construed as an import for her. So she was like, no, I have exported it, it's come back to me. And they were like, no, it's there, it's come back to you, it's in your name, so you have to pay duty to get your own product back. So I mean, so many silly things that are there. I mean, I'm sure most of us will have a laugh on it and say, no, we need to do something. But I think this is the right time for us to put this in perspective, so that the government can actually start working on these things at the ground level. Because if we are going to go back to the 30,000 people who have been exporting traditionally in the last 8, 10, 12 years, though they know what to do, they know exactly what to do, they already have customers, and they are going to go back to them. Somebody is going to buy, somebody is going to buy a little more, little less. Our intention should be that we should get more people on the bandwagon to export, and that can sort of multiply our numbers very, very easily. So I'd like to go back and I'd give Aruna ma'am the last word. So I'd start with Sabyasachi first.
No, you are absolutely right. As right now you're telling broad basing the export. Right now, I have seen somebody has also asked this question. Exactly, this is what we are trying to do right now. We are, broad basing our exports across all clusters. We are, trying to, just spread the exports in e-commerce. Now, e-commerce, what we have also done just now, as you are telling, that yes, it is very difficult for MSME and MSME to just know how to do the e-commerce, how to put in their products. So we have put help desk in all our regions. So that is special e-commerce help desks. If somebody wants to export through e-commerce, the entire package is available. How they can have an I number, import export code number, how their products can be photographed, how that can be put on the website, the training, how to see that. Because I'll just tell you one small thing. What like Alibaba you are talking. So they told that e-commerce exports is just like a, you have a shop somewhere. So if you are throughout the day, if you are in front of the screen and you answer to that faster, then you will get better orders. So I'm just giving you certain of these examples. And for your information, that, the tracking for portals for US, that is what I was telling. That data sharing has already been signed. So based on that, at least for tracking for US export, they have already started. So that has already started. They have committed that within maybe a 1 month or so, they will give us, just as you are telling, the finite, because you are also right. What is our study is telling that each, when you do e-commerce export, the delivery is finite. Right now, we all are buying through Amazon. They're every day they're telling that this is 5 days, this is 6 days. So we try to find out which will reach faster. So that
Yes.
finite guarantee in exports in through e-commerce, that is also, post office will be, arranging for us. So all these things, this is very important. What you have just now told is that one is the policy, another is the procedural part of it, and the third part is the logistics. Once we bridge these three gaps together, I think for our country, like this is a vast country with such, people in remotest part, e-commerce exports is the only way, I think, what we can look out to, just do a very fast track export sort of thing.
Thank you. I'd go over to Ruben, please.
Yeah, I think this is a time I have to tell about something which we have done very, very unique from Plex Council is to have a buyer-seller portal on our mobile app itself. What happens is if a Plex Council member is there, he can host at least 5 of his products on the Plex Council's mobile app, and then we have provided them a gateway so that if a buyer is interested, if he has that say mobile app, he'll be able to contact them, and the council will be just a platform. I think this is a very unique mobile app which we have created, and even the buyer, he can post 5 or 6 of his what he wants from the plastic industry on that mobile app, and then whoever is wants to contact them, they contact them directly. So this has helped small timers sitting in some of the smallest towns who are doing a lot of plastic products not to go into the mainframe, but come to the Plex Council's mobile app where they can host the 5 or 6 products, and they can change the products also. Every time they can change, they have access to all the other, so they have access to the buyers directly also. So the council, Plex Council's mobile app just puts a platform for this e-commerce in the mobile app itself, instead of them going into the bigger thing. So this is just a beginning for the small timers in our members, so that is very useful. We are getting very positive feedback for that. This is the way we are trying to promote the e-commerce through Plex Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I next go to Gurmeet ji.
Thanks, Vinod. Basically, in a current scenario, particularly the COVID period, the digital transformation is very important I would say, across all the sectors. Digital technology has transformed the landscape of client engagement, commerce, marketing, and more in such a way that it impacts every area of your business. Every company is now a technology company. This means managing your transition to a digitally driven business model is not just critical to beating competitors, it's crucial to corporate survival, I would say. I would, give a 3, very strong reasons for digital transformation for any business, which are important, which is acceleration of change, which means the pace of digital change is rising exponentially, making it very difficult to maintain a position of industry leadership and requiring an acceleration of new digital solutions brought to the market. And second one being the digital competition. Companies are under ever increasing pressure to compete digitally, and long established business models are being disrupted by born digital startups. And the third, I would say, is customer expectations. Uh, During the present scenario, customers expect a good experience across all touch points. And the companies must ensure that their interactions are seamless and exceptional. So that's how we are. I agree with you. Even the virtual events, the exhibitions that we are doing is, not putting the desired results in spite of making huge efforts on that front. So what we have started doing is that we have started doing pre-organized meetings in consultation with our counterparts in various MOU signing counterparts, sister organizations. We are creating interest from our membership, restricting it to just 28 or 30 companies from our end, and creating a booklet, sharing it with our counterparts, inviting suggestions and interest from their members, how they can, would like to connect with our members. And one day, a time convenient to both the sides, we organize a pre-organized, 15-minute slots to everyone, so that, they come across on the breakout rooms over the WebEx and discuss business. And, that is proving to be a far more successful rather than doing putting up exhibition booths and not coming not seeing any footfalls over there. So that is happening, and our members are very happy with that. So far we have done almost 80 plus B2B business meets over this digital platforms. And given the current scenario where travel is a issue, this is yielding results for our members. And I must very strongly suggest that digital transformation is the key, and we must do it. Even in our case, the IT companies are already IT savvy, so they don't need it. But for the benefit of our electronics hardware companies, we have starting doing sort of a convergence between the hardware and software members, wherein our software companies are assisting the hardware members to for their onboarding on this digital technology and helping them to their digital transformation, which is very important during this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Gurmeet. Abhayji, any last comments?
Yes. In fact, you see, all the speakers have highlighted the importance of digital medium, and you see, we do have members directory, but what we have done, we have come up with two things. One, a newsletter called India Serves, and that we are sending to all our embassies, missions abroad, chambers with whom we have a good networking for the market access, or information on the market access, and also to talk about the competence of services sector from India. That is one part. Now, with the same name, India Serves, we are going to launch a portal. Now, right now, we have collected so far a database of about 70,000 services exporters, cutting across all the sectors. Their data, it's free, available for overseas buyers, and they can directly get in touch with them. And anyone, any company, they need not be our member. They can, Indian company, they can put up their profile. Maybe when they have 2-3 rounds of discussion, then the membership can come into play. But we are giving them the complete access. And the similar way, we are also providing the information to the overseas buyers. So we are building that database. So during this pandemic phase, actually, we have been working on it. Unfortunately, for many years, CPC was not having this resource. But the last 1 year, a silver lining, or a kind of when everything was down, these things were actually being happening in the background. So it augurs well for MSMEs. They can put their details for anyone to be seen and do the business with.
Very wise. In fact, we had close to 982 people live today. We've received a lot of questions. So, but I'm sure all of these questions, the ones that were important, we've already showcased them. But there are a lot more questions which we will take offline. I mean, Sushmaji's office will get in touch with all of you, touch base with all of you, and then take it forward. Aruna ma'am, now we've come to the fag end of this, this session. You did talk about 4 or 5 important things earlier, which was, awareness of e-commerce, exports, end-to-end digitization, and you also talked about logistics capabilities, how we will need to develop better mechanisms. Obviously, also simplifying compliances, regulatory requirements, and all that. And in the long-term planning for, how do we support the growth of e-commerce exports? So, ma'am, now you've heard everybody. What are your closing comments? at this point in time?
I'm quite happy listening to everybody. And I must say that what the ministry is thinking to have this export meets and everything, I think there is a need to rethink about it, that your entire homework has to be on a digital platform. Gone are the days where you have this exporters and buyers meets, physical meets. So use this digitization very effectively so that you are able to go ahead with it and able to create a market. The traveling part of it or a physical meets is only to get a feel of the market or the kind of products that are going. Because these days, very effectively, you can do it on a digital market by putting your small product and getting a very good feedback and getting the interest of your buyers into your product. So that is very, very important. So I think there is a need to step back and think about it. The second thing, which has been very rightly said, of a private bank coming forward to do the coordination of the various different compliance softwares which is happening. Now, if a private bank can step forward, I think there is already a strong case to have a single window as an ice gate, which somebody in the question also mentioned. So I think that should be insisted upon when we are moving ahead into this. And post office, yes, we were instrumental in digitizing by pushing them to digitize. And now they see the potential, because the whole idea is their spread and reach is fantastic. And now, if we strengthen this, then your MSME spread across length and breadth of the country can just piggy ride their systems for the logistics arrangement. And more the business, more they will strengthen as they are moving ahead with it. Then, very rightly has been mentioned by Gurmeet and Abhay, which was very important to bring in convergence between the services part of it and the software part of it. When you're looking at the electronic hardware or the services or the software part of it, it is really sad what Gurmeet very rightly said, that we don't have a brand as such. Like today, also, we are reliable on something like Zoom, we are reliable on other things. They immediately came up. The Google came up for your solutions, the others came up for your solutions, and the whole world is using it, right? Because that's the way it has been operating. So it's an opportunity for us to come up with these kind of solutions when we go ahead. And I totally agree with Abhay. What he has said is that when we are incentivizing, we can't have a same shoe fits all. You will have to have specifics about it, and where do you want to incentivize, so that we give a trigger, and everybody will be at a different level of growth, and every industry will be at a different level of growth. So now, cutting the whole thing short, there is no shortcut to digitization. There's no shortcut to the new consumer behavior, whether it is B2B or B2C, who are going to do their first survey or first touch base through the e-platforms. So better our presence is there on an e-platform as much as possible. Use them effectively and go ahead. Was very rightly said. One could think of a jewelry buying on an e-platform. One wanted to go and feel it and see it and sure of the guarantee, or maybe the traditional shopkeeper. All that is gone into also in the precious jewelry as well as the other kinds of jewelry. Somebody made a mention of gem. How boarding and gem is becoming easy. I think all e-platforms, it has become very easy. So whether it is commercial e-platforms or whether it's a government e-platform, now boarding your product is becoming very, very easy. Your single sample product also you can put it. And what Ruben said, I would like to end it by saying that yes, manufacturing, digitization, what now we are 3D printing will be coming. I mean, that is what we have to be prepared at. So in a big way, it is going to come as a manufacturing way of going ahead with it. So how quickly we go to the bandwagon, because please understand, the moment you go through the exports, standardization is mandatory, and standardization will come up through those e-platforms. So when standardization is needed, you can't have each product a little different from each other. That is what the 3D printing will bring out. It will just be like a stamping and creating clones everywhere, and but give you an innovation opportunity. So every time you can graduate a better product when you are moving. And here I will like to say the various guilds that we are having. If you look at China, the guild takes care of making everybody list into their platform, member or no member, whosoever is making that product, maybe in a very small scale, maybe in a big scale, and handholds them and helps them to explore the market. So maybe they find their niche, they are able to go ahead with that, and then able to capture that market completely. So maybe that responsibility will come on the guild. So my request to you on the FTP is, please list out this and ensure that each box is ticked. So even if it's coming in September, it should not be like itching in rock. It should be a dynamic kind of a document, subject to corrections as we start moving ahead into it. If the ultimate objective, so please realize, the policy is not end in itself. The objective is end in itself. And objective
Very
is,
correct.
we want to double up our export. So if we want to double up our
Absolutely.
export, any itch in a policy which is becoming a hindrance has to be removed or has to be corrected. So
On it, absolutely. Absolutely, ma'am.
with that attitude, I think we should go ahead. And I must thank each of the panelists for bringing out forthrightly where the pain points are. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was such a pleasure. Frankly speaking, I always come here. I tell Sushmaji, no, I will moderate the sessions, but the intention is to sit here and learn from all of you. Every time we discuss such issues, I keep on learning things, and I'm such I'm so pleased with myself that the fact is that I sit here in this position and keep on learning continuously from experts like you. And it's a pleasure to have all of you on board. Well, to the government, as we have discussed, it's our submission that detailed inputs on e-commerce provisions should be included in a new chapter on e-commerce exports within the FTP. This will lay the groundwork for a robust e-commerce exports policy framework, and will also help us further to scale exports through multiple channels. And if we are able to operationalize these provisions that we kept on discussing, I think it will require a lot of coordination in terms of efforts across multiple departments, RBI, Customs, DGFT, the Commerce Ministry, Ministry of MSME. But the FTP in itself will be the starting point for building out a consolidated framework for implementation, which should be anyway kept fluid. You should constantly keep on changing and amending it as and when the need arises. And I'm sure this will help the industry, MSMEs, service providers, all alike in leveraging the potential of exports and e-commerce exports that are there for India as a potential. With that, Sushmaji, back to you, and thank you to all my friends for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It has been such an enriching experience listening to each one of you. I mean, though we are, working with separate export promotion councils, and we are just working under different umbrellas, but I guess every time we talk to each other and listen to each other, I feel the objective is the same. All our pain points are the same. And I guess the solutions to it are also same if we brought about more congruence and a stronger voice, a single voice to raise all these concerns through a common channel. And that's what is going to, bring solutions more effectively. Common sentiment that came across in today's discussion was that digital is definitely here to stay. E-commerce, of course, is going to be an integral means to achieve the 5 trillion economy that we have been talking about. And there is a dire need to create awareness about export opportunities amongst our MSMEs, industry, all the enterprises who are going to contribute towards the economy. There needs to be, easing of regulatory controls, and the ecosystem needs to be more conducive towards, boosting business and not controlling business. And enhancement of ease of doing business for MSMEs needs to come into play. There is a dire need to correct imbalances in India's trade processes also. and this FTP that we are so looking forward to needs to be a more inclusive policy, and it need not exclude a XYZ sector. So with that, once again, thank you all for sharing such valuable insights. We will definitely share a consolidated paper when we complete the second part as well. And it has been fantastic listening to you. I thank all our viewers who have been sincerely, sticking to us throughout the session, and have been posting many questions. So we will definitely answer to those offline. Aruna ma'am, thank you. Ray Saab, Ruben Saab, Gurmeet ji, Dr. Sinha, thank you very much for being here. And of course, a big thank you to Vinod sir for conducting this session. Thanks. Have a great evening and stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
to
you.
you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Dr.
Namaskar.
Prabha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Bye.